Hey everybody, this is Jeremy Siskind here, and today I want to do something fun. I guess it's a little like show and tell. I've been working on this interesting, difficult arrangement of the song Caravan. It's a classic by Juan Tizol and Duke Ellington, made famous by Duke Ellington's orchestra. And I thought that I would walk you through the elements of the arrangement, and then I would perform the arrangement for you. It's still a work in progress, but I think you guys will appreciate, and maybe it'll give you some ideas for your own solo piano arrangements. I should mention, I am the author of this book, not the microphone right there, but this book. I'm trying to get better sound on my voice, so I'm keeping the microphone closer. I hope you don't mind. It's called Playing Solo Jazz Piano. You can buy it on my website, jeremysiskind.com, or if you're international, you can buy it from Amazon. So if you guys don't know this piece, Caravan, it's a pretty well-known and kind of unusual jazz piece in that it's meant to sound very exotic, right? Caravan invokes kind of the Middle East. And I think we could debate about which scale it's focusing on, but to me, probably it's mostly using like the F harmonic minor, but starting on C, so we would call that the fifth mode, because C is the fifth mode starting from F. So I think it's meant to sound a little bit Middle Eastern or gypsy-like. And then the groove, it's often played somewhere in the general Latin category of groove, straight eighths. So just to give you an idea what the piece sounds like generally, it would be something like this. It's got a bridge that oftentimes bands go into swing for the bridge, or you could kind of keep it in a straight eighth feel. So I wanted to do something really energetic and rhythmic solo piano, because so often it's tempting to just play a lot of ballads and a lot of really loose things in a solo piano set. So I wanted to have one kind of fast straight eighth tune that I could really use as a contrast. So I'll show you what I did. The first thing that I did was I started with a bass line, and this is a 4-bar repeating bass line. We sometimes call this a bass ostinato, and ostinato just means something that's repeated over and over again. Let me play it for you. It's So notice it's almost the same thing twice, but there's a little anticipation of that C natural at the end, which is highlighted at the very, very end. So the first time the C natural comes in on beat 1, the second time it comes in on beat 4. And this is kind of reflective. I'm not a scholar on Cuban rhythms, but there's this Cuban rhythm called the tumbao, in which the bass never lands on the downbeat. It always lands on beat 4. It's like 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So that beat 4 has this kind of Cuban element to it. Notice too, this bass line has a lot of offbeats in it, and that kind of helps the rhythm. It helps to generate a sense of forward momentum in the rhythm. More on this bass line later. But I want to show you what I'm doing with my right hand, even though that's in the bass clef, the right hand's playing nice and low, which is that I'm playing the melody in the top fingers, and in the thumb, I'm going to do a double thumb on F and G, and that's just going to keep the offbeat. So it's going to be like 2, 3, 4. It's hard to do it alone. So when we put these two together, it'll sound like this. There's these 3 elements. There's the melody on top. There's these pulsing offbeat quarter notes that we don't really want you to hear. We want you to just feel them. And then there's that bass line, which I think it's probably the most active, interesting thing going on. Now, after this part, there's this kind of chromatic descent. I'm not exactly sure if the melody is that or... But I wanted to create a little forward momentum here. So what I did was I basically put it in 7. So there's 1 bar of 4, 1 bar of 3, 1 bar of 4, 1 bar of 3. So it'll sound like this. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3. It's hard to count with a 4 tuplet. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Oh, counting through that is hard. You might have noticed I did some fancy voicings as I played that chromatic descent line to kind of fill that in. It's not too It's fine like that, but I like adding some thickness to it. So I'm using these voicings, which are from the octatonic scale, where I'm playing a triad in second inversion. So this is an A triad, E, A, C sharp. And then I'm putting the note above the root of that triad on bottom. And I'm just bringing those down parallel. We call this planing, when we take the same set of intervals and we start moving it just by the same amount. So I like the way that that kind of thickens up the voicing. And then you might have noticed that the melody, and it's kind of always a counter melody here, goes into the left hand. So now the left hand's doing 2 things at once. It's going. So when that happens, the right hand's just going to be playing those offbeats. So put it all together. Here's the A section. It sounds something like this. Now the bridge I made much less complicated. I didn't diagram anything out for you for the bridge. For the bridge, I'm doing 2 things. And maybe it's funny to call this less complicated, but I guess it's all relative, right? So the first is I'm playing block chords. I'm keeping it in 7. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm working on trying to do this kind of fancy pedaling where I pedal late. If you've read Playing Solo Jazz Piano, this book over here, there's a little section where I call this forte piano pedaling. Oscar Peterson does this all the time, where you get like this nice accent, and then you pedal late, so the sound kind of dies and then continues on. I'm still working on it. It's hard, and it's very different depending on what piano you're playing on. And then I'm just trying to improvise some octave fills that lead to the next bass note. So if I'm starting on F, I'm going to be leading to B flat. Now B flat to E flat. And then I kind of get back into 4/4 for the last A. Okay. So then how does somebody improvise on a piece like this, with this complicated bass line without letting the rhythm die away? So I'm trying to keep the bass line going as much as possible. And you'll hear I sometimes simplify the bass line in order to have a little bit more freedom to improvise. But I wanted to try to, at least in part, improvise using this bass line. So how do you practice that? How do you prepare to do that? I have a couple of exercises for you. The first is that I match my right hand to my left hand exactly. Even if it's not the most musical thing, I want to get used to those points at which the 2 hands align. So I might put on a timer for 20 minutes. I won't make you listen to all 20. And I'll go. I'm trying to shift focus. Focus a little bit on the left hand. Okay, am I playing that the way I want to? Then focus on the right hand. Is my improvisation interesting? Can I, try to add a little more variety, and I'm trying to shift my focus back and forth, because that's often what you're doing when you're actually playing. But beyond that, you want to be able to put any rhythmic subdivision against the bass line. So what we could do is we could practice intentionally different subdivisions. So for example, quarter notes. And I'm just going to play a scale up while I play my bass line. By the way, I'm playing the Locrian scale just in case. That's not Locrian, that's Phrygian, I'm sorry. I'm playing the Phrygian scale just in case you're interested. You could also practice those quarter notes on offbeats, which a lot of people forget to do, but it's a really important subdivision. So 3, 4. Pretty fun. Eighth notes, obviously. See, as I shift focus to my right hand, my left hand loses focus. So I'm trying to stay aware of both. Triplets, and I also, like doing these exercises because I'm kind of a glutton for punishment. So this is alternating eighth and quarter. I should say quarter and eighth. And I have to write it out because you can see after the written portion, I start to lose it. So I've got a lot of these exercises. Another great exercise is to put it in your right hand. I'm just improvising in the left, trying to focus on keeping that going in the right hand. Also here, hopefully, if all goes well in my performance, I wait a while before trying to play the full bass line because you don't want to give away too much too early. And then I came up with this kind of alternate solo accompaniment, which is these sharp 9 chords going up by half steps. This has a rhythmic motor because it's anticipating each of the strong beats in the measure, right? The strong beats are 1 and 3, and so it's going on the end of 2 right before beat 3, the end of 4 right before 1, and then the end of 2 again. So it also kind of provides a really nice sense of rhythm. So when I need to kind of change textures or change something, that's a really good place for me to start. All right, so I think we're ready for a little performance of Caravan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this bass line up on the screen so you can kind of keep track of it. And what I do for an introduction is I reveal only part of the bass line, and then I kind of do some silly improvising above top. So wish me luck. Here's Caravan. I'm going to turn this microphone on.